talk to me about leadership. I want to hear about, from your perspective, when you think of leaders, what are some of the great leaders that you've worked with? You think of some of the best leaders in your past, not mentioning me.
I'll leave that one out.
I think you're the first time I've had somebody on the podcast that I'm paying to be sitting here. Like, who would you say is a great leader?
Well, I'm going to start off super raw with that question.
Okay.
One of the greatest leaders I've had is someone that you know dearly. And one of her first interactions with me was to tell me that my underwear was showing outside of my pants.
Whoa, that is real. And how did that make you feel?
Yeah, it made me feel embarrassed, of course, right?
Yeah.
Your first, and picture it, I'm 22, just out of college, feel like I have my life together with my business casual, and she drops that on me. Not in person, it was an email, so it was a little bit more, sneaky.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I'm mortified, right?
Yep.
I'm sure I turned 50 Shades of Red. But looking back, I'm like, amazing.
Yeah.
That is the kind of person that you want in your life. That's the kind of person you want in your corner, who's going to tell you when you have food in your teeth or your underwear is hanging out.
Yeah.
And so that in the moment, I don't think it sunk in, but it sounds crazy. But I mean, I think about that moment.
Yeah.
I want to tell my people when they're messing up. I want to tell my people when they have food in their teeth, because it would be a disservice to them if I let them go on and rub people the wrong way or embarrass themselves and then me not tell them.
Totally. Wow, that's cool. So how have you applied that? I mean, do you actually get to, are you kind of like, hey, I'm looking for somebody's underwear?
Underwear police.
Or like looking, you find yourself like, hey, I want to be real raw. Like, what would be an example of somebody that you've had to, what's like because you mentioned you're risk adverse. To me, I'm like, okay, now coupling that with, okay, I really respect this type of leadership with somebody, they went on a limb. Mm-hmm. That person went out because they could have lost your heart.
Absolutely.
It was risky.
It was.
Tell me, just talk about that. Like, have you actually had to apply that? Can you think of a time where you've had to go down that road? Maybe you talked to somebody else on your team, or maybe you didn't and you wanted to.
Well, I'll start by saying it's very hard.
Yeah.
It's not something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
But I've never given someone feedback and then regretted it.
Wow.
So I choose my times wisely. I'd like to think that I'm not a nitpicker by any means, but when the time is right, I'm going to say something. And part of my leadership philosophy is just consistency.
Yes.
Right? I want to be predictable.
Yeah.
I want my people to already be thinking, oh, Tiffany's going to say something to me about that. I know, oh, shoot, I messed that up. I know she's going to mention it to me because that's something that she's mentioned to me before or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I want them to be ready for it and be expecting it.
Yeah.
So consistency to me is very important. I don't want to walk into my boss's office and wonder what version of them I'm getting that day.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so if I know if I mess up in a certain way, or if I come to someone and ask, hey, can you give me some feedback? I probably already know what they're going to say.
Oh,
that's my goal for my people. If they come to me and ask for feedback, they probably already know what I'm going to say.
Interesting. I was going to go through the lens, and I imagine a lot of people listening thinking, do I do that? Okay. So I'm hearing Tiffany talking about consistency. I'm like, well, as a parent, I know I'm not. I'm like completely erratic. I'm like, what version are you going to get of Jonathan today?
But everybody's different. That's the thing. Everybody's different. There's not one way to do it. I probably slip up.
Sure.
Some from time to time.
Yeah.
But my goal ultimately is to be predictable.
So if your team members were to do an evaluation of you and they said, Tiffany, like one of the words was consistent, you would be like, yes.
I'd like to think so.
Okay. And you'd be really happy with that characteristic.